Hi everyone, Rick Russell here. Stand by for channel markers.
American paratroops and airborne infantry, flown from Britain 1,500 miles away, had landed to capture airfields, while other American troops had poured ashore on the beaches, protected by the British Navy. Here, as in Algiers, the fighting lasted for only a few hours. But at Casablanca, the battle still raged.
To everyone's surprise, on Tuesday, November 10th, 1942, D+2 for Operation Torch, Battleship Jean Bart's forward main battery turret swung back into action. No one was more surprised than Admiral Ken Hewitt, the overall U.S. naval commander, because Jean Bart was firing at him. His flagship, heavy cruiser Augusta, was cruising less than 10 miles offshore and firing at two French sloops when about 20 minutes before noon, huge yellow-orange dyed plumes of water erupted around the flagship. Jean Bart's second salvo missed, but drenched Augusta's bridge in seawater. 2 days earlier, on D-Day for Operation Torch, Battleship Massachusetts and the heavy cruisers Tuscaloosa and Wichita, operating as the invasion's covering group, had wreaked havoc on the French Navy and its base. Massachusetts alone had spent 35 minutes pounding Jean Bart into silence.
Gunnery from American ships, coupled with precision bombing, silenced those guns.
Massachusetts made 7 16-inch hits on Jean Bart. The first hit exploded inside the empty magazine for the uninstalled 152mm secondary guns. That might have been a ship killer if Jean Bart had been fully operational. She went quiet when Massachusetts' fifth hit, a ricochet, silenced the main battery turret by jamming it in train. 2 other hits breached the hull. But despite the beating, Jean Bart's fighting capabilities were not seriously impaired. Yard workers successfully unjammed the turret, but with so many scout planes in the air dared not test it. On Tuesday, when Augusta came well within range, Jean Bart let loose. Who was available to respond? Hewitt knew he couldn't call on the covering group. Massachusetts had finished D-Day with only 40% of her 16-inch shells left, and Big Mamie was saving them for Jean Bart's sister ship, Richelieu, in case she appeared. The cruisers were in much worse shape. Both had shot off 80% of their 8-inch ammunition. Meanwhile, on board Augusta, 3 of Jean Bart's 9 2-gun salvos straddled the cruiser. The flagship withdrew at high speed. Hewitt ordered dive bombers to attack the fanatics who were choosing valor over prudence. On the first day, dive bombers carrying 500-pound bombs had attacked Jean Bart, scored at least 1 hit, but caused only superficial damage. Now they were packing 1,000-pound bombs, the type that had sunk 4 Japanese carriers at Midway 5 months earlier. At 1500 hours, 8 Wildcat fighters from VF-9 roared in low, strafing anti-aircraft guns on the jetties and the battleship. 9 Dauntless dive bombers, a VS-41, followed and scored 3 or 4 direct hits and 1 very near miss. Serious fires broke out fore and aft. The first hit wrecked the forecastle, while the second caused extensive damage to the hull, starboard side aft. Soon the ship's guns stopped firing. None of the battleship's guns were knocked out, but there was no electrical power. Extensive flooding had submerged the turboelectric generator room. The shock effects of the bomb blast had also disabled the main diesel generators. The backup diesel still worked, but couldn't handle the demand. In 3 days, Jean Bart had fired only 25 15-inch shells. 22 men had been killed, and the same number wounded. There were no U.S. casualties during these attacks.
2 days later, the Germans invaded unoccupied France, whereupon Admiral Darlan, declaring Pétain a prisoner of the Axis and himself chief of state, ordered the cessation of hostilities.
On D+3, November 11th, Admiral Darlan, who had ordered Jean Bart to Casablanca in the first place 2 years earlier, gave the order to cease resistance. He was negotiating a larger deal with General Eisenhower to stop the fighting from Morocco to Tunisia. Hewitt went ashore to meet his opposite number. Massachusetts went home. She was headed to the Pacific. Repairs to Jean Bart began immediately, and after 3 months, the wing turbines were operational and manual steering had been restored. The French Navy asked the U.S. Navy if she might be completed in the United States, but that's a story for a different day.
United under General Eisenhower, they were ready to take the field. Once more, the tricolor, the stars and stripes, the Union Jack flew side by side.
That's all for this channel marker. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment or recommend another subject below. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.